Hey everybody, this is Daniel with Propelio. I'm here with Brandon Richards, the connector. I've been following you on Facebook now for probably 5 or 6 months. And you've been just kicking it out there. You're a rock star. I see you going on appointments all the time. I see you papering up contracts. Yep. You're both a real estate agent and an investor. How's that kind of playing into your business?
Originally I thought it was going to be a disadvantage, walking that fine gray line, but it's actually become an advantage in almost all appointments. So I've gotten lots of listings off it, and it's also helped me win acquisitions.
Yeah, I saw you just post, was it Frisco or something
Frisco,
like that?
Yeah.
You helped this lady get like an extra $76,000 in equity back on her or something like that?
Yeah, so it was a pre-foreclosure lead.
Mm-hmm.
I went on that appointment to buy it. I offered, I think it was like $240,
mm-hmm.
and obviously she didn't want that. I think their payoff was sub $200. And once they didn't like that offer, and I felt the vibes of, because I go in there guesstimating, what's the seller's needs, what's the motivation, what's the time frame, what's
mm-hmm.
the urgency, and so the sale wasn't out until August.
Okay.
And so once I saw it 2 months out, I was like, okay, we got time to list it. Let's go ahead and list it. That's going to get you more money in the pocket. And so the estimated net profits to them would be about $79,000.
So I'm guessing they're pretty excited about that opportunity to kind of capture some more equity.
Yeah, they're going to pay off the debt. They're going to, they're going to catch up on their bills, and it's going to get them back to good credit. They're going to stop in foreclosure, good credit again. They'll be able to buy within the next year or two. So
I know that I've seen you do multiple different deals. Could you tell me about your first one? Is there a good story about that one, or how did that work out?
Very first wholesale.
Yeah, very first deal you ever did as far as an investor.
Very first direct to seller wholesale
mm-hmm.
was that Roach house.
That Roach house?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody on here's seen this, but man, that was a fairly newer home, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2006, yep.
Yeah, it's like a 2006 built home, and probably one of the trashiest houses you've ever seen. We call it the Roach house, or at least I've been calling it the Roach house.
That's what, if I put that video up online, it's had 43,000 views.
43,000 views.
Basically, it was a 2006 build in Heartland, and she bought it brand new cash. She paid cash from the proceeds of a divorce. Uh-huh. She moved in, never got a job, from what I could tell.
Right.
Because there was about 12 liens against the house,
mm-hmm.
and they were all tax liens. As soon as taxes rolled around, she would pull a lien against the house
mm-hmm.
and never pay them off. And so, although she had 100% equity in the beginning,
yeah.
it ended up being $37,000, what she owed. So I went in there. If you've seen the video, it's a bad house, and
it's a bad house.
The roaches, the hoarding, trash, like everything. It was a bad house. Seller's nice as can be though.
Yeah.
It was weird, but yeah, she never got a job. All the tax liens got her into pre-foreclosure status,
mm-hmm.
and it felt surreal. I got the phone call, and when like any other phone call, what's the reasoning? What's the urgency? What do you want to sell it for?
Right.
And she's like, well, I owe $37,000. I'd like to walk away with 20 or 25. I'm like, because in my mind, I'm like,
hop in the car. Whoosh.
Yeah, that day, I got the phone call. That day, I left the office early.
Yeah.
And I was at the old brokerage, and I left the office early. Went straight to their house.
Mm-hmm.
Contracted at 63.
Man.
I was like, what? There's got to be something wrong here, because the ARV is 185 plus.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, okay, whose day am I gonna make better today? Who am I gonna sell this to? How much money can I make?
I wish you would have called me.
Yeah, and so ended up selling to a local investor for 105.
105. So what was your split on that?
42,000. Yeah.
$42,000 on your first wholesale.
Yep, very first one.
And I'm assuming that they went ahead and still made some money on it as well. What they end up doing with it?
So this particular investor also owns a real estate team
mm-hmm.
and a mortgage team, and
okay.
so he ended up closing with what he called the trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
So he acquired it. His agent brought in the buyer,
mm-hmm.
and his mortgage company lended on it.
Okay.
So he ended up profiting about $48,000 off it still.
He ended up profiting about 40.
Yeah.
And I guess he remodeled it or whatnot?
Yep. So he went in. The seller left everything in the house.
Yeah. That's
all. They took beds. That's it. The mattresses only. They left the frames.
Yeah.
And so they left the guns safe. They left a bunch of BB guns. They left junk, urine bottles. Like, it was just a bad house.
Who all was living there? There was a couple, 2 or 3 people, or just?
It was it was the mom and 2 teenage kids.
Man.
Yeah, it was It was an interesting house.
So how'd you find that property? You said it was a pre-foreclosure. Was you like bandit sign, or was it like a direct mailer?
Pre-foreclosure, Propelio lead, honestly.
Was it?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. So it was all mailers, and yeah. So she got the mailer. She went on my website, and then she inputted on my OnCarrot website.
How long have you been marketing up until that point?
A couple weeks.
So just a couple weeks into it.
Well, yeah. So when I
42
first
grand.
got into wholesaling, I learned from a couple of guys in my old office, and they were going about it a different way. They market to real estate agents only.
Right.
They don't do any direct mail or bandit. They do a little bit of bandit signs, but I didn't think that was the most productive, straightforward way to go about wholesaling. They're doing great. They're wholesaling probably 7 to 15 houses a month. They're doing really good. I'm just not that kind of a people person. I can't be calling agents all day. So I was like, what list is going to make it? So I got Propelio. So I started mailing out. That's how I got that one. But I needed somewhere to capture leads because somebody in a foreclosure situation doesn't necessarily want to talk on the phone. Right. She did call me, but it was only after, or no, I called her. But she went to my website because they're in a bad situation. They don't want to talk to anybody about it. Yeah,
whatever.
A little bit embarrassed, I'm sure. But yeah, so she went on my site, input the information. I called her, same day, went out and made the appointment. But yeah, it was direct mail.
That's awesome. And since then, I mean, you close that one out. What have you done since then? I know you've got a rehab you're doing right now.
Another pre-foreclosure.
Over there in Mesquite, you got a pretty good rehab going on over there.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah, so that again, direct mail, pre-foreclosure lead.
Okay.
Went into that one. I was there with three other investors. She had a stack of like 16 mailers, postcards, or whatever, and she called 4 of them.
Right.
A couple of the ones I knew. Other people went in there trying to do the subject to thing, but it was a VA loan.
Okay.
And so the situation was the ex-wife lived there, husband had moved out 10 years ago, but in the divorce decree allowed her to stay there, and he needed his VA loan back.
Okay.
And everybody was going in there with either a super low offer based off of their buying model or the subject to model, and the subject to didn't fit that situation.
Right.
So the payoff on that one we thought was lower, around $64,000, and once we got into it, payoff ended up being $71,000. So then we got into there, and I wanted my own rehab. I'd been selling distressed properties through the MLS and kind of being a second or a double wholesale, I guess you can call it, to the other guys in the old office. And I was like, I need to get one. I'm not going to make a name for myself unless I rehab one. Nobody's going to really put a whole lot of faith and trust into what I'm doing. So I needed to get one. Paid too much. That's why I'm doing a lot of my work myself. But closed it at $74,000. So I gave the seller, the ex-wife, $2,500 to walk away, so that way she can get her apartment and whatever. And ultimately, it was that VA loan that had me thinking, there's no way I'm gonna let this deal fall through. Right. Because I had to get both of them signed. So I'd spent many conversations with ex-wife and the husband with the VA loan. Right. So we closed it, and when I got in there, I was like, I might have underbid this rehab. So.
This is your first one, right?
First one, yeah, first rehab. And I'd been doing
wholesales and everything else.
A little bit of wholesaling, but I've walked several hundred properties before and got my rehab pretty much down, but there was a lot of unforeseen things. Like foundation was pretty obvious. Right. I knew it needed a roof, but I didn't know it needed decking because I didn't walk it. Visually, I was like, okay, that's old. That's at least 15, 20 years old. It needs to come down. After I bought it, I jumped on the roof and I was like, holy crap, this is kind of spongy. Right. So I'm like, okay, so it's a partial redecking. No, it's a full redecking. Had I don't know what the mill is, but ended up putting a 1/2-inch OSB up there. Anyway, so I pulled it all. It was all pretty straightforward until I pulled the cabinets out. Man, the cabinets, it unleashed a whirlwind of nightmares.
For real, what happened?
So as soon as I pulled the cabinets out, there was water damage. Okay. When I pulled them out, I also pulled drywall out. I found rats in the wall. Yeah. Well, the drywall came out when I pulled the cabinets off, and I was like, okay, there's a rat's nest. Here's another rat's nest. We found at least 6 dead rats in the wall underneath the cabinets. So the water damage to the drywall, the insulation had rat urine all in it. what else we find in there? Some of the pipes were leaking, so that
It's causing all kinds of rotting issues.
A lot of
and
damage.
everything else.
Yeah, insulation bad, studs are bad.
But there's really no way you could have known that when you were buying it. So
No.
I mean,
Yeah, there's no way to know.
That's all kind of just part of the game.
Yeah, so I got in there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a GC in here. No, that's why I'm doing a lot of stuff myself. But I love it.
Yeah, that's how I got started in this business. Most people don't know it, but my first three or almost 4 rehabs, I did probably half the labor myself, if not more than that.
Really?
My very first rehab, I did probably 90% plus of the labor myself because at the time I was just broke, and that's how I got started.
That's
so,
another reason. Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for you. I know when I'm on YouTube and I see you out there swinging hammers and doing what you got to do. I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do to get into this. I mean, you just do what you got to do to get going, and I got a lot of respect for you for actually getting out there and making it happen. How are you funding these? I mean,
that's hard money.
This is hard money?
So how I got this hard money connection was that Roach house that I sold to the one investor. He was like, hey, because I wanted that first house and I couldn't find money because I had no money. And although there was an incredible amount of equity in there, I couldn't honestly carry that loan.
Right.
So that investor was like, hey, your next one, I'll make sure you get the money. I was like,
that's awesome.
You better hold your word there. So yeah, so I called him up. I was like, hey, I got another one.
Yeah.
It's a little slim, but I want to make it work. And he was like, okay, here's the contact. So it was a friend of his, and younger investor did real well. So he's got his own cash, and he walked the property 5-10 minutes. Like, okay, yeah, I'll give you the money for this one. And it was pretty straightforward.
That's awesome.
It's been.
So let me touch base on this, but you were saying you didn't have the capital on this one to get going and everything else. When you first got started in this, did you get started with a stack of money, or did you get into this pretty much kind of as most people are, moving from paycheck to paycheck, or maybe just a little bit in savings, but not obviously enough to fork out thousands and thousands of dollars for a rehab?
Man, so that's what my Facebook is fairly motivational, is because I've only been in Texas. It's June now, so it's about a year and a half. But I moved to Texas from Arizona after a divorce with literally $0 in the bank account, and I had $1,300 cash.
Yeah.
The divorce was amicable, but she took all the money. So, not that there was a whole lot. It's not like I gave her $20,000. She took what we had, and it's just what I felt was necessary.
Right.
But I had $0 when I left Arizona. So I came here with no money, got into real estate thinking I'm going to be some awesome realtor. It didn't happen that way at all. I didn't sell anything so I had issues getting my license first because I still had a current active license in Arizona, and then I want to get a license here. So the communication back and forth, making sure I didn't leave Arizona with a bad name, anything under my license out there. And so it took me until about April. So I got here in December. It took me to April to get my license.
Whoa.
It took 4 months.
Whoa.
It took forever. Went to Champion School. It was great. I couldn't do the online thing. So it took me about a month and a half to go through all the classes over there. And then another 2.5 months to
get your license.
Yeah. So it was April. I'm like, okay, cool, spring. I'm going to kill it. No.
Man.
It wasn't that way. I didn't close anything till July. And it was from my grandma.
Right.
And it was $1,200.
Right.
So for 6 months out of the year, I was making no money.
But you didn't give up, man.
No, yeah. So right before I left Arizona, I have a friend out there invest, and I learned about wholesaling right before I left Arizona. And I was like, I brought up the conversation. I was like, sure about that no money investing, getting houses under contract and then selling to investors? And he's like, yeah, I heard about that too. I was like, I'm going to do it when I get to Texas. And then I didn't get into it right away, obviously. Got into trying to be a realtor, and then went to Century 21 for a while trying to be just a conventional realtor. I was like, man, not only do I not like showing houses, I'm not a good realtor. I mean, I've developed some connections, but getting buyers and sellers is really hard.
Right.
And
There's
then,
definitely an art to that.
yeah, and I don't like making phone calls. I don't do the cold calls. So direct mail made a lot of sense to me. So got into direct mail. I switched brokerages, got into a brokerage that dealt in investments primarily, and learned what I could there. But ultimately, it came down to books, podcasts, buying the right list, Bigger Pockets podcast is primarily what I learned everything.
So you
from.
don't have any formal investment education. Most of your education has came through the internet type of stuff.
Yeah, internet and books. Yeah,
Internet and books.
I mean, because I own a carpet cleaning company in Arizona, so for 4 years straight, I was owner operator of a carpet cleaning franchise. So I was cleaning carpets day in and day out. And I told you I have a license in Arizona, or did. I didn't have time for it.
Right.
I sold 4 properties, 1 to one of my carpet clients, and 3 to that investor I was telling you about out there. It's a buddy of mine. So I sold him land and in a commercial property. And anyway, so I came to Texas with no experience and, again, no money.
No experience. You just hopped on the internet and said, "I'm going to start doing this." You started following some people, listening to some podcasts and everything else.
A lot of
and your very
podcasts.
first deal, you popped off a $42,000 check. I bet you that was a bit of a change in life.
Yeah, it was.
Put
it was
a bit of a
interesting.
smile up.
And that wasn't even too long ago. I mean, it took me a little bit of time to learn, what I need to do right. Before then, I JV'd some wholesale, so I kind of knew the process, but I didn't have the right paperwork lined up. I didn't know all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that was February this year.
How long did it take to pop off that first one? 5-6 months, a month, 2 months, a year?
It took. So I switched brokerages over to the investment brokerage June last year, and then I was kind of learning some stuff, but I didn't actually start direct mail until this year, January. So it took a month.
It took about a month.
That's
That's awesome, man. That is absolutely awesome. So from your experience coming into this and starting out with minimal and then making this business grow, what would you say the number one thing a real estate investor should do every single day as part of their business, or the 1, 2, 3 of a business to get this rolling and going?
I'd say number 1 is action. That's what I tell everybody. I was like, you got to work. I mean, if I can get 6 hours of sleep, 6 hours sleep a night, I'm good. But those other 18 hours, I'm not gonna lie, I don't literally bust my butt 18 hours a day.
Right.
But I'm up and I'm constantly thinking, what can I be doing? But it's action. Ultimately, it comes down to action. Like, I had a lot of people come in, I want to be an investor, I want to be a wholesaler, and we're like, I will tell you everything I know. I will tell you everything I know. Not that I know a lot, but I'll tell you everything I know. But you got to do it.
Right.
And that's ultimately what comes down. It's action.
I don't know what causes so many people to just kind of fall short of that. I mean, I've seen some people take massive initiative into the education to learn all that, but once they've learned all that or everything in between, it just seems like they have a big problem taking the next step of actually going out there and taking the action. I mean, and that's something you seem to do a really good job of, is every single day you're just pushing to make something else happen.
Yeah, I would say it's fear. That's my other hashtag on there.
Right.
Is like I say, it's cheat on your fears, really. Right. I'm a self-motivator to a point. I can get up early, I can stay up late, I can work hard, and that's what I've spent before I got into real estate. I work hard now, but it's on computer, just driving, making all these connections. And before that, I was working 16-hour days cleaning carpets, and before that I was detailing cars and truck driving, and so I've had a lot of array of different jobs. But it was being fearful of having to worry about that check. So when I jumped into entrepreneurship, it was I needed to stop being fearful of cold calls. I started cold calling now, which is how I got a couple of them. And then fearful of making mistakes, because there's a million things I need to learn. There's no way I'm ever going to get that right. And I'm making a ton of mistakes in this mesquite rehab right now. And then
that's one of my biggest things is from my past experience is mistakes is the only way to make it forward. A lot of people are afraid to make a mistake, but in my opinion, a mistake is the best thing you can do, because that means you tried something that you didn't know the answer to, and whether you succeeded or you failed, at least you tried. And from that experience, you learn what to do next. And with that, you can continue moving forward, because now, next time that pops up again, you have the option of doing it again with more experience.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I was able to be successful and other people like you were able to be successful is they made the mistakes. You've got to learn to make some mistakes, because there's no way you're ever going to be successful in this business, because you're not going to know. Even where I'm at today, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know, but just because I take the initiative and I see other people like you doing that as well, I think is where your success is coming from. And
yeah, I see anybody successful, that's what I'm going to say. Yeah. The mistakes I've made so far haven't had a long-term effect. It's just money. I'm going to get money eventually, and I can make that money now that I know wholesaling with little to none. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose time.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose connections. Some of my friends have stopped talking to me now that I've gotten to this, or since I moved. And but I've made mistakes on this first rehab. I've never done it before. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I know a lot of people that do it, but it's not always perfect advice. And now I know on the next one, there's some things that I would have done first, or better, or faster, or not so early in the game. You have to make those mistakes, otherwise you'll never know what not to do in the next one. You're literally never going to get it perfect.
I mean, going through this, what would you say your biggest mistake was? I mean, either with the rehab or just as an investor in general. What big mistakes have you made, or what would you change about something you've done in the past if you could think back on it and be like, I should have done that differently? Or, is there any advice like that you'd have for the people out there?
As far as wholesaling goes, I would have started mailing first.
Right.
I took other people's advice I was always told to network and try to build connections. And that's all. It's great. You need to have the connection. You need to network. You need to find your buyers. You need to find your money.
Right.
But I should have started mailing first. It's really the only way that you're going to get deals. Everybody mails, so I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to mail from that list or this list because everybody else does it. That's where I'm getting all my deals. You got to mail. You got to put time and effort into that. As far as the rehabbing goes, don't try to shortcut anything. And if you have a gut feeling that somebody's not gonna do what you expect of them, whether that's in urgency, quality, and time, just go with the gut and you never bring them in.
Right.
And don't ever give them money first. I made that mistake.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's one of the big ones.
I'm a fairly nice guy. I like to teach people. I like, I need to learn to not be, I guess you can say a pushover, I guess. Because I should have known to tell this one contractor no in the beginning. And I didn't. I was trying to be nice. I wanted to give him some money. You can't be that way. No, because they're not almost always having you in the best interest of them. They want that paycheck now. They don't necessarily think about the longevity of the relationship on other projects. And that was unfortunate on my behalf. Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories like that. I think Corey even went through one of those where a guy took him for like 10 grand.
Yeah, recently.
I mean, you got to be really careful with your contractors. I mean, there are a lot of times, and I understand their point of view, but at the same time, when they ask for money up front to get a project started, don't ever do that. I mean, if they're like, well, I need to go get material and everything else, well, then what I'll do with the contractor, if they're like, I need to go get some material, I'll be like, you go make a parts list and you go get it put on wheel call, I'll go buy it. Because what happens is you end up paying them money up front, and that money you're paying them up front is to go to pay towards finishing off their other job, and now they're stuck without any cash on you and they just disappear. And I've heard a lot of stories about that happen. I've had that happen to me on a pool job one time. They were like, flat out, I'm not going to start unless you give me half down. And I was in a really big rush, and I was just like, man, I ain't got time for this. Here's half down, and gone. Really? Just gone. So it put a bitter taste in my mouth. And contractors and me, I don't do that no more. It's just like,
well, granted, sometimes they ask money down because that's just their protocol. They need the money, or they're trying to be shady.
Yeah.
People tend to think that the bigger companies, they want the money down as part of security, or if they don't ask for money down, that they're a big company and they don't need to, which is generally the concept behind it. And then if they do ask for money down, they don't have the money, and then you have to worry about them. But I would say just be mindful of the gut feeling in the beginning. Right. You got to be able to read people, and if they feel just off when you're walking the property with them, I wouldn't do it. You know? There's plenty of contractors out there.
So now that you've been doing this and you've mentioned kind of some of how you got started in this, what kind of sacrifices have you had to make to get this business going and to be successful like you have been?
Time.
Time?
Yeah.
Just.
I would say sleep, but really I do fine off of 6 hours of sleep.
Right.
If I'm up till 12 or 1, I'm good at getting up at 6 or 7.
Right.
And really if I get more sleep than that, I feel like crap.
Kind of slows you down.
Yeah, honestly, but I would say it's time. I've gotten better at it. I've got 2 girls. I feel bad sometimes when they get home and I'm on the computer And so in the past, 4 or 5 months, I've made a better push at spending more time with family, and only because I built better systems. I've discovered how to make things easier, and I'm still working on that. I need to build systems. I need to scale, and that's one of my goals in the coming months is to learn how to scale.
Right.
But it's time. But it all goes back to I need to build better systems.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, getting started in this, it does consume a lot of your time. I know, like with Grant and myself and so many of the successful investors I talk about, it's like, you're working 80, 100 hours a week. It's Sunday to Sunday for me, and it was from the time I'd get up till the time I'd go to bed, and everything in between was just constant work. And because of that, it gave me the opportunity to build up the bank account, to hire people, and then slowly over time, my time started out like this, and then it kind of started drifting back the other direction again. So I think that's really good advice for anybody that's out there is
it's going to take a ton of time in the beginning, for sure. I don't watch TV. Actually, in fact, nobody in my family watches TV, just for other reasons mostly, but it's too time consuming. I watch movies, I love movies, but I don't have any shows that I would just like, okay, I got to be done by 7, so I'm going to watch a show. I don't watch TV. I don't watch sports. I don't go out. If I go out, it's with my girlfriend or my kids or a networking event. When my girlfriend comes. But I don't waste time. I do, everybody does, but it's not like I'm hustling 18 hours a day, nonstop. But I don't put time wasters in my life.
Right.
I don't have cable. I don't even have an antenna. I have internet, which gets me all the cool stuff, National Geographic, all the documentaries, all the motivational stuff I get.
Right.
And probably Facebook is a time waster for me, honestly, but it's what's made my name.
Right.
Nobody knows what I do without Facebook. But yeah, you're gonna need a lot of time, and you're gonna waste a lot of time trying to figure out how to save your time. But I don't actively put time wasters in my life. Yeah.
So I know you said over the next couple of months, one of your main goals is systems and everything else like that. But looking long term for the next year, do you have any ambitions? Do you have anything like that? What's your goals?
I'm really bad at setting goals. I know what I want in my mind. I'm really bad at putting them down. I know that I want to build a house by the end of the year, and I want to be doing multiple flips at a time.
Okay.
Right now, honestly, all my time and money is put into my one small rehab right now. But I know once I'm out of it, I can double down and get a couple properties. But I really don't know what my future holds. I want to keep rehabbing because it's fun. A lot of people tell me wholesale. Just do wholesales. It's quicker, faster money. I enjoy it. So I want to concentrate on wholesaling because that's something I can systemize better than probably working on rehabs. I can probably have 2, 3, 4 rehabs going at a time and manage them fairly easily. And wholesaling, you just make the appointments. But I want to build. And eventually I want to get into holding properties, whether it's single family, duplexes, quadplexes, multifamily, eventually, long term.
So, that's kind of like the model where I got started. I love the rehabs. I know that wholesaling can be good, easy, fast money, but personally, I truly enjoy rehabs. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than going into a house that you wouldn't want to see or you wouldn't want to, to be a part of, and then turn it into something that's just amazing. And I really enjoyed that part of this business. That's one of the most fulfilling parts of this business for me. Talking about that, outside of just the monetary benefits of this business, what would you say has came to you as a benefit that you wouldn't have expected? Things that come to you that outside of just the money.
I get to help a lot of people. I enjoy helping because I still don't have a lot of money. I really don't have a whole lot at all, but I've been the paycheck to paycheck. I've been the, oh crap, how am I going to make mortgage? Cell phone gets shut off. I got to go turn it on a couple of days later. I've been that guy. But doing this rehab, I begin to think about, man, I'm putting a lot of food on a lot of people's table right now.
Yep.
We haggle on prices just like everybody else does, and they start high, I start low, we meet in the middle, but ultimately they're making money, it's going to their family. So I'm like, okay, so I'm feeding a lot of people. I enjoy that. And
like that lady you got up in Frisco, talk
about
helping somebody out.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those. I just closed on one in Heartland, which the same situation. I'd actually been talking to that guy for over a year. The first month I got in the real estate, he messaged me and I was going to sell his house and it didn't work out. So a year later, he's like, oh, hey, I'm in foreclosure. can you help me out?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I can buy it at this, or we have just enough time, we can sell it at this. He walked away last Friday with $38,000.
See?
So I enjoy helping people. Now I'm putting, food on people's table and paying their bills.
That's awesome, man. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you and work with you, what kind of people are you looking to work with? Is there, opportunities out there? I know that you spend a lot of time on Facebook. Are you looking for more deals? Are you looking for some private investments? What are you looking for?
Anything real estate,
Anything real estate.
Obviously I'm looking for more deals. That's what I do. Private money, connection. I mean, I'm not a huge people person, but I enjoy networking. Like, I coined myself as the connector, so I like bringing people together and helping other people make money, which ultimately, if I build my network, I can help people and help myself. But yeah, it'd be more deals. So I like working with other wholesalers, private money. And
If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way to get with you? Facebook, email,
yeah.
Facebook? What's your Facebook?
Well, it's just my personal page, Brandon Richards.
Brandon
If
Richards.
you find me on there, that's how I made my name, really, honestly.
Cool.
That's how I've made.
That's how I met you. I mean,
almost all. Yeah, that's how I met you.
Right.
It's Realty 401. Everybody. It's how I literally made my name is Facebook. And I didn't have Facebook until I moved to Texas, but I knew it was necessary. I got an Instagram, but not really pushing that. I know I should. And there's a lot of other things I should be doing, but Facebook. Find me on Facebook.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in and giving me the time
appreciate
today. For anybody that'd like to follow up with you, you can get them on Facebook and anything else like that. And I appreciate it, man. I really do. I see what you're doing out there, and I'm very. How do you say that? I don't know, I don't want to say proud or anything like that, but it's fulfilling seeing other people that are out there that are doing this business and getting ahead and actually making it happen. I mean, I've seen way too many people show up and be like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then they just never go anywhere.
Yeah,
and you're definitely not one of those people. I mean,
Yep.
you've taken where you started out and to where you've gotten today and you're just kind of starting out in this business, but I can already see that you're on a path to making this really happen for yourself, because I can see from an investor that's been there that you're taking the action necessary to get to where you want to go, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think that's what I'm trying to say, because I got a lot of respect for you and what you're doing out there. So,
Appreciate it.
everybody, this is Brandon Richards, and thank you for coming in today.
Okay. Thanks.